Hi, I'm Chris,
And I'm Eli.
and we are the Landlord Gurus. We've been managing our own rental property for decades now, and we've created this show to share our experiences, tips, and best practices we've refined over the years. Thanks for joining us, whether you found us on YouTube or our podcast or at landlordgurus.com. Before we get started, just a reminder to like, share, and subscribe so you'll get notified when we put out new content. Hi there, and welcome back to the Landlord Gurus podcast, our show where we help independent landlords like you and like ourselves work smarter, not harder. I'm Chris. We got Eli here.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us today, whether it's you're seeing us on YouTube or you're listening to us through your favorite podcast platform. But today we are going to talk about a topic that we think potentially can make or break your rental business. Managing rental properties can be overwhelming. And so we're talking about property management software today. And we've talked about property management software a lot, obviously, before, if you've listened to us or seen us before. But today we are kind of doing a deep dive and choosing what we think is the best one out there for independent landlords like ourselves. We wrote an article and we posted it to our website, and we'll put the link to it down below as well. And we'll go through all the criteria and all the things we're looking for, and it's kind of our comparison and discussion points. But before we start, and I guess before we get too far, the spoiler alert is that we think TurboTenant is the top pick. And we will talk about why and kind of start with some things of what you should look for in your property management software.
Right. Thanks,
Eli,
Chris.
you want to take that away? Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, everybody, for being here. So when we look through really pretty well all of the property management software products that are out on the market that are really designed for and well suited for smaller scale landlords, which could be anywhere from 1 to 20 or 50 or even 100 units, but in most cases we're talking 1 to 20. But we didn't look at all of the kind of enterprise scale property management software packages like ERD or those types of things, which are generally used by property management companies for thousands of units. So, but we looked at pretty much everything that was out there that would suit Chris or me or you if you're listening to us. And the way we looked at all of these products, the criteria that we narrowed down for choosing the very best one were as follows. This is a list of the criteria that we set aside to evaluate them on. First off, we decided, having used a lot of them, that it really pays to have one platform where all of the features are there to support all of your essential tasks in managing your rental property. So that goes on from screening tenants, advertising, collecting rent, signing leases, maintenance, management, all that type of thing. And they can get more robust in how they address those things. And we like a platform that kind of does it all and even has the opportunity to kind of have added plugins as well. And second, many people would put this first, I think, is affordability. And a function of affordability is scalability, which is that if you go from 1 unit to 2 or 20, that your costs don't balloon. So we like a platform that's affordable right off the bat. We do both pay for the use of property management software. We believe that the features that are offered with TurboTenant, and again, spoiler alert, that's what we've chosen, that's what we use, are worth it. So you want to know that it's not going to get away from you in terms of cost, and you also want to know that it's clear what it's going to cost you. Automations, these are things like rent reminders, bookkeeping tasks that can be automated, maintenance workflows that whether reminders or tasks are kind of set up ahead of time and operate on their own. And having a user-friendly interface, something that's easy to understand both for you and your tenants is vital, because if it's confusing or clunky, it just doesn't work. So, Chris, you want to take the rest of the criteria we got there?
Yeah, sure. The next criteria is integration capabilities. So when we talk about this, we mean there are other tools that are out there, right? Not all property management software covers every feature, but if you've got a different bookkeeping system that you use or a different maintenance coordination system that you use, the software would then integrate with that and, talk with each other relatively seamlessly. Scalability, and Eli, you've talked about this a little bit before with pricing, but again, the software should be able to scale with your portfolio. If you've got, 1 unit now and you move up to 5 units next year, you don't want to have to change your software platform because the one that you're using isn't very good for a larger portfolio. So we want that to be, we want you to be able to stick with the same one so that you understand it for a long time. Customer support and training. So we think you should choose a platform with good customer support, accessible. You can call them or text them or whatever, chat with them. And then also many of them have helpful training so that you can troubleshoot issues quickly and get the help that you need when you need it. Mobile apps, these days you kind of have to have a good mobile app. If you're an independent landlord, chances are you have another job or you're doing other things. And so being able to manage your portfolio on the go is kind of a lifesaver. And then lastly, security and compliance. So ensure the software adheres to all the data security standards that are current nowadays. You don't want your tenant information and their sensitive information to get hacked or to get, kind of thrown out there in the dark web.
Exactly. Thanks, Chris. So having said all that and brought you into our thinking of what makes a good property management software platform, we'll tell you about the contenders that, kind of the cream of the crop, the few that we ended up looking at as, when we got to the point where we're going to make a final choice. So TurboTenant, we've already let the cat out of the bag on that one. That's our choice. Chris and I both use it. And what we like about it is that it offers a very comprehensive set of property management tools, including functions to help you with advertising, screening. Pre-screening is a great piece of this, where it helps you kind of screen it in phases and really get the people you want. Rent collection, signing leases, and storing documents in a number of different flexible ways, maintenance requests, and accounting. And we also very much like the fact that most of these features are available for free, and the premium packages start at a very affordable rate if you do decide that you want some of the added on features. The affordable plans start from $150, which is kind of the level that I'm at, and for a year. Tenant screening reports are delivered almost instantly and have very high accuracy rates. They've just partnered with Rent Butter to enhance the quality and speed of their screening reports, which include credit, background, eviction history, and income verification. Listings are automatically, so anytime you advertise a unit for rent, it's automatically syndicated across 25 different rental sites. So you get that out there in front of a lot of people on a lot of different sites. And incoming leads can be pre-screened, as I mentioned, and scheduled for showing quite easily, within the platform. And lastly, we like the fact that you can customize state-specific lease templates, which are served up to you in the TurboTenant platform. Those are customized for every one of the 50 states. Or you can upload your own documents. You can have either or both electronically signed on the platform. You can add co-signers, and then you can even include electronic condition reports, which are filled out and stored. All of this then becomes stored on the cloud within the platform. So those are some of our favorite features that make the platform stand out from the others.
Yeah, I'll just add on to that if you don't mind, Eli. I think I have just started using those move-in condition reports, and I think they're fantastic there.
Yeah.
I think being able to just kind of they give you through the app just a list of all the different spaces that are possible in your unit, but you can just, if you've only got one bedroom and not 2 bedrooms, right, you can just kind of wipe away or, delete all the things and all the areas that are not relevant to you. And it really just makes this concise little detailed report of things that the tenant can then go through and check off pretty easily.
Right.
And give them things to look for, as opposed to just a big long list of all the different possible things that may or may not be relevant.
And you can set
I love it.
You can set a due date too.
You
can say, you need to, and I generally set it within a few days of the move-in date. This needs to be back by this date. So
exactly, and the platform just sends them reminders and tells them to do it, as opposed to before,
right,
me having to do, or more commonly just forgetting, and it just never gets returned.
Yeah,
right. That's the big worry.
And the standing there while somebody fills it out, along with standing there while somebody reads and signs a lease document, those are some favorite things that I no longer have to do because it's all done to the platform. That and chasing checks around.
Yeah. And then I just also wanted to add that you mentioned that the cost is somewhere around $150 a year, but just to add on to that's an unlimited number of units, so it doesn't change. If you add more units, that price doesn't change.
Right. Exactly. Scalability.
Yep. And so, yeah, I will just go through a couple of things that, I think could use some improvement, or that, I've found that, like we said before, not every property management software is perfect. So some of the things that I, don't particularly like is the payout time is a little bit slow. They say that it's 3 to 5 days. It seems like it can often be a little bit longer.
This is for the rent,
for the, I'm sorry, for
the
rent
rent
collection.
transactions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a huge quibble, but there are times where I see that they've made that transaction, and then I keep waiting for it to show up in the bank, and
It always does.
takes a little bit longer. It always does, yeah. The customer support number is only available to premium users, so that's one thing. If we're paying for it, that's fine. But if you're trying the free plan or just trying it out, you may not get that same level of customer service.
They do have a chat bot, though. They have a help bot that I've used that's worked well. But yeah, that's true that their customer service by phone is quite good.
Yep. And then lastly, I think the lease renewal and rent increases, when starting a new term for an existing tenant, can be kind of confusing. It's just a little bit different than, it makes sense when you're starting with a new tenant and you go walk through the whole kind of lease wizard, lease creation tool and the signing tool. That's pretty straightforward, but it's, at least I haven't quite figured out the best way to use the renewal process if that's not creating a brand new lease, if it's just kind of going through and I just want to change one thing, like whether it's the rent amount or the end date of the term. I haven't quite figured out the best way, and maybe that just requires a phone call with customer support.
I've had to double check my work before and on that one. Yeah, I agree with you on that. So, okay, so that's how we feel about TurboTenant and why we chose it and where we see there's some room for improvement. Avail is the second platform that was kind of on our list of finalists. I have used Avail in the past, and what I liked about it, what we like about it, is that the free plan includes most of the platform's features without a lot of added on limitations, including listing syndication. They also send listings pretty broadly. I don't think it's quite as broad a list of sites as TurboTenant, but it is quite broad. The tenant screening is quick and easy for both landlords and applicants. Online rent collection has the reminders and that type of thing. So it's, the automation there is good. And then maintenance tracking is similar, where there are good communication tools there for communicating with tenants about maintenance that needs to be done and then tracking the progress of that task. The platform also offers 50-state lease document templates and electronic signing. What it doesn't do that TurboTenant does is allow you to upload outside documents and sign those, which for me has been important because, Seattle has such strict laws that I feel like I need to use the local RHA documents all of the time. So, and Chris, I don't remember, have you used Avail or did you?
I have for certain aspects of that they offer.
Yeah.
And only on the free plan, because, and here's why, what things that I don't like about it, I guess we'll just go right into that.
Yeah.
That if you are on the free plan, which is what I was doing, rent payments, they do charge a $2.50 transaction fee. It's charged to the tenant, but, it sort of then requires that conversation with the tenant of, or the decision of, do I cover that, $2.50 or just make the tenant pay that, and it's just not the easiest kind of conversation to have or decision to make with that tenant if you're making them pay $2.50 to pay rent online.
Yeah, I'd advertise that like $1,500, and then I would move somebody in, and then I'd move the rent down to $14,950, and then have to explain like, oh, well, you're going to be charged this, so now I'm adjusting it, which is confusing and hard to remember, and also just an expense.
Yeah, it's just not that simple. So, and then if you want to waive those fees, you got to subscribe to the paid plan, which, again, we talked about scalability. It costs $9 a unit, I think, is what they're currently charging, but that's per unit. So if you have a 10-unit building, which I do, then, all of a sudden that's $90 a month, which is not cheap, over the course of the year. That's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot more than a lot of the others. So it's great if you've got 1 unit, 2 units, but, beyond that, we think that there are more affordable options.
Yeah. And more robust functionality too.
Yep. Exactly. Next one on our list is Zillow, or Zillow Rental Manager, as they call it. Everyone's familiar with Zillow, especially for the listings.
Mm-hmm.
And That is one of the things that's great about Zillow. And when we talk about listing and advertising, we do say you should still list on Zillow, even if you're doing something else, even if you're on TurboTenant or, whatever platform you choose. Zillow is a good place to additionally list your rentals. But we're going to talk about some of the other property management features that they are pushing and that they like to advertise as one of their strong points. But what we do like about Zillow, again, is, the rental listings get wide exposure. A lot of renters use their site. If you do want to use their property management services, it's free to manage your rentals and collect rent online. And Zillow does offer free state-specific lease templates. Not for all states, but they have some state-specific lease templates. And they do have the ability to upload your outside documents and have them signed electronically. So Zillow does offer some of the same features and functionality as the other platforms that we've just talked about, TurboTenant and Avail, but there are some limitations.
Yeah. I'll just harp on there are too many people shopping on Zillow to leave that opportunity aside. I mean, for me, at least, I think that it is foolish not to advertise on Zillow, which I can do for free. And then I turn off the ability to automatically apply. And I've made the mistake a few times of leaving it on, and then people see my listing on Zillow and all of a sudden they're applying. And these are people that haven't seen the place. They haven't asked any questions. They're just firing out applications. And that's not, especially in a place like Seattle, where it's a first in time, where you have to accept the first qualified applicant. It's not the way I want to receive applications. So I turn off the allow applications. And then when I get an inquiry through Zillow, I send them to my TurboTenant listing, and then they can do the pre-screening and the application and the screening, and everything flows from there. So, and I would say that the documents that Zillow offers, on top of the fact that they're not in every single state, available for every single state, I think that they're not nearly as comprehensive as either Avail or TurboTenant. And TurboTenant has a great landlord documents pack, which has all kinds of notices and templates and that type of thing. So, okay, so I'm probably getting ahead of myself there. So what the things that we don't like as well about Zillow is that while you can advertise for free, they do push their premium listings, which is a one-time $39.99 listing, which gives you 90 days of premium listings, which makes you show up with more prominence in a couple of different ways. I think higher on lists, larger featured boxes for your listing. So it can be free, but you're not getting everything, at the free level.
Right. And it's for 90 days. So even if you advertise and it gets rented in 30 days, you're still paying for that extra 60 days of premium. I mean, obviously you can turn it off, but you've already paid for it.
Yeah. There's no prorated at all. So, and I do pay for it sometimes, especially if it's in a slower time of the year or it's really competitive. I mean, it's a one-time fee. I don't want to pay it, but I feel like it's worth it sometimes. So let's see. I think we already mentioned state-specific leases are only available for 36 states currently. I think they're kind of working on that. That's more than the last time I looked at it. Landlords can only, and this is a big one to me, landlords can only connect one bank account for the purposes of rent collection. So I manage a couple of different properties, each of which has its own associated bank account, and there are different owners. So I have to be able to direct rent, unless I want the extra burden of having to bring it into one of my accounts and then distribute it out, which is something I don't want to do. I need to be able to say this rent goes to that bank account. So Zillow does not allow you to do that. And lastly, Zillow just has a much more narrow, much simpler set of features where it comes to managing properties. And it doesn't have things like, add-on accounting software. It has very basic bookkeeping and accounting functionality compared to all of the other contenders we're talking about. It's just a simpler platform. It's really good for advertising. And, that's how I use it.
Okay. Then the last contender on our list is Rent Ready. I actually have never used Rent Ready for any of my properties. We've looked into it and kind of played around with the interface and stuff. But as far as in real life situation with my own actual properties, I have not done it yet.
That's true of me as well.
But from what we can tell from using, the demo accounts and things, RentReady has convenient, really good user-friendly mobile app for both landlords and tenants. The platform syndicates listings to Realtor.com for free. So that's a big platform that has a lot of eyeballs as well. So it's not a bad way if you're looking to get your rental out to as many people as you can. Tenants can pay rent via ACH transfer. They can also use a debit or credit card, which you can do with the other platforms as well. But one thing that is kind of unique is that RentReady has a partnership with Chime, so the tenants can actually go into a location and pay their rent with cash, and then that gets sent to your account. So while we don't necessarily advise people dealing with cash transactions, it's possible for those tenants who still do it and still prefer it. And then lastly, you can download transaction records. We've got a good system for accounting and bookkeeping where you can download those records into a QuickBooks format if you're using QuickBooks. Again, we've talked about QuickBooks before and aren't particular big fans of QuickBooks for a variety of reasons, mostly that it's not necessarily built just for property management or for your rental properties. So I don't use QuickBooks, but I know that there are landlords out there who do. So if you need those transactions to import into QuickBooks, RentReady has that covered for you.
Okay, and the things that we didn't find to be as favorable about RentReady is that there is not a free version, unlike all of these other platforms, which you can use some or even most of the features without any cost at all. So, there isn't a free way to try it out. Also, they do support listing through the Zillow network, which we didn't mention before. You may realize Zillow, Trulia, and HotPads are all in one family. So when we talk about Zillow, we're actually talking about all three of those together, because listing on any one of those is listing on every one of them. And so they do support syndicating the listings through the Zillow network, but they have this Rental Connect. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but you basically sign up and you pay $1.75 per day to do that. And I guess per unit,
$1.75 a day per unit.
Right. So I guess if you find your tenant on day 1 or 2, then you're in the clover, but that it's not free and it could add up. So each rent payment comes with a $1 ACH, which is an electronic payment, bank-to-bank electronic payment protocol, or 3.1% plus 30 cents if the tenant pays with a credit or debit card. So there is some cost to rent payment, even when you're a paying subscriber. And lastly, to use RentReady's accounting features, you need to pay for an REI hub, which is a third-party software that they integrate. You have to sign up for a separate subscription with REI hub in addition to the RentReady plan. So those are our contenders and kind of what we did and didn't like about them. So what we'll do now is we'll just get a little bit deeper into the features of TurboTenant, our chosen winner, and what we like about it. Get a little more granular. So Chris, you want to lead us off with a couple of those?
Yeah. So, again, we'll just shout out here, TurboTenant's our winner. We suggest you give it a try. But yeah, the features that really stand out for us, the property management features, they cover basically everything that you need. So, we'll go through them kind of one by one, but rental advertising, again, create your listings in minutes, get them syndicated across 25 different rental sites. You can track and pre-screen those leads, message them within the platform, ask them questions, see what they got to say, and let them answer your pre-screening questions. And then you can also book showings through the platform. You can kind of indicate which days and which times you're available to show, and they can select those, and then it gets booked and blocked off. From there, if you show it and you've got somebody that's interested, you can do your online application straight through TurboTenant.
Mm-hmm.
There are industry standard applications with screening reports. You can add your own custom questions. It will verify the applicant's self-reported income. You can also have them upload the relevant documents so that you can double check. And again, to start it off, you can send those application links from the platform directly to the applicant. So you're not collecting any money for the applications. It just gets all sent through TurboTenant, and they fill out the information, pay the application fee, and then you get the screening reports instantaneously. So, you want to cover what's in the screening reports?
Yeah, sure. So what's in the screening reports will be a little bit different depending on where you are. And that's true of some of, if not all of these companies where, in Seattle and a number of other places, there's a ban the box, rule where we are no longer allowed to consider most types of criminal background in the selection of tenants. So they'll automatically, TurboTenant for sure, I know, automatically removes that information from the screening report when it delivers it to me so that I can't accidentally, look and see whether or not there's any criminal, which insulates me, keeps me from making a mistake and potentially getting myself in trouble. One thing I will say is that, for people's comfort, is that it is still legal to, and the results are delivered on whether or not the applicant is a sex offender, a registered sex offender, and it's still okay in these places to consider that. So you may get, depending on where you are, you may get a criminal background. You get any records of a past eviction, and then a full credit report with all of the trade lines, all of the payment history, any missed payments, a credit score, a FICO score. This is all done through TransUnion, which pulls all of the credit data. And then there's an income verification, which is also a function of their partnership with TransUnion, which analyzes based on financial activity on their accounts. It's a bit unclear to me, but about whether or not it seems reasonable that this person will be making the income that they're stating. So if they're spending way more, or I don't know how it works, but there's an algorithmic income verification that comes back.
I think they're also just kind of checking, the job title with what the sort of the average
really?
income of that particular job would be in that area. So, for example, if they are a waiter and they've listed that they are, a waiter at a restaurant and they list, X amount per month, I think that they, it's all, again, automated, but they can say, well, that seems like that's a lot for what a waiter in this area should be making, and they don't, actively say that's incorrect. They just say you might want to verify.
Yeah. So you get a good picture of a person's financial fitness and how they deal with paying their bills. You also, on the application, you get employer and past landlord references, which we strongly suggest that you call. It's also important to have a person who gives you a sense for, like, has this person shown up for what they signed up to do and met their obligations, but whether it's in the work environment or in a housing situation. So that's all there on the application. Once you've moved through screening, you have found somebody that meets all your criteria, and it's time to move on to signing a lease. I will say that this is where TurboTenant really sold me. This is where I brought everything over to TurboTenant, was the way that they manage the lease documents and signing. They have good documents that are a la carte. You have to pay for them if you are not a premium subscriber, but if you are, then they come for as many units as you have, as many tenants as you have included. And those 50-state leases are good. They've got addenda for smoking and, pets, all the different situations you may find yourself in. And they also, as I mentioned before, allow you to upload your own documents. So that could be anything from, in the case of me and here in Seattle, I want the RHA Washington lease documents, and I upload them all. Or it could be just like house rules that say, hey, you got to keep the porch clear, and, keep it down after 7. And then you can upload those and then set up signing just like in DocuSign, and it's all binding and electronically done. And you're not standing there watching somebody read and fill out the whole thing. That's my favorite part, to be honest.
Yeah. After 7, quite. Okay. Yeah. Then I can go on. The rent collection, again, TurboTenant offers good quality rent collection. You can collect rent. They'll automatically apply late fees. Tenants can turn on auto pay, which I think is great and I think they think it's great too, because they don't have to think about it. And they don't have to remember every single month to pay. It just happens.
Right.
Before they go and, and forget about it or spend it on something else, right? It's already taken out. It'll also send them payment reminders and receipts as well. And you can also set up other charges. If you've got a one-time charge you need to send them, you can set that up, invoice them, they can pay it, and then we'll give them a receipt as well. So,
right.
You can also do your maintenance management through the platform, and this will let tenants submit maintenance requests. They can attach photos or videos. You can then receive them and assign them to various vendors, create work orders, track progress on those work orders. And then you can have, like we talked about before, those custom inspection reports for move in and move out. You just set it up through the platform, send it to them. They can fill it out, take care of it.
Right.
You can also add your own. Go ahead.
And just to be clear, you can actually bring your vendors, your handy person or a plumber, you can bring them into the platform so that you're all then communicating in one place. So I don't have a text, and I try to get away from text, but text thread with the tenants and then phone or email interaction with the plumber. I do it all.
And then you got to then text the tenant back.
Right.
The plumber can come at 10. Does that work for you? Oh, how about 11? And you got to call the plumber back.
Right.
How about,
Exactly.
It's all there. Everyone can kind of figure it out and be in the loop.
Exactly. Yep. And lastly, TurboTenant also allows you to do some of your accounting on the platform, either fairly straightforward where because your rent payments are coming in, it's pretty easy to run a rent roll or to see who's paid and hasn't paid. So then you've got payment history, you have the income side of your bookkeeping kind of readily there with the standard plan. They also give you the opportunity to partner with REI Hub, which we mentioned a few minutes ago with Rent Ready. Rent Ready also offers a similar relationship where you can add on and then it will integrate in. So all of your income that's coming in through TurboTenant will then feed into REI Hub, and REI Hub will allow you to pull down statements from bank accounts and credit cards and enter expenses. And it really takes the place of a QuickBooks and is tailored to the needs of a rental property business as opposed to QuickBooks, which, it could be for cattle farmers or, it can be for anybody is the point, but you have to know how to set it up. And this is much more intuitive. And actually I'll loop back one little bit there on the maintenance management. They have a similar add-on functionality with a company called Lula to help you manage your maintenance. So Lula is a maintenance dispatch and management company that will field the inquiries from or requests from your tenants and triage, figure out what needs to be done, and then send out the appropriate people to deal with it. And you can set limits on. Oh, Chris, I'm getting ahead of myself, aren't we? We talked about this later.
We'll talk about that later, but we can talk about it now since we're on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, you can set a not to exceed work order price. So anything over a certain price has to get your approval before they continue on with the work. You've talked about most of the other things, but I just want to add that the vendors that they dispatch are all vetted.
Background checks.
Background checks, all of that, local to the area that your property is in. So you don't really have to worry about, you may have strangers or whatever coming in to work on things, but maybe you haven't vetted them, but Lula has.
Right.
And they are available in over 30 markets when you subscribe to TurboTenant's Maintenance Plus subscription. I believe that's another $149 per year. I don't know off the top of my head what those 30 markets are. They're not yet in Seattle, but I know that they're working on that.
You just looked into this.
Yeah. Their subscription plan does cover, like you said, troubleshooting, scheduling. They'll review the work done, and again, they're maintaining that network of professionals. So if that plumber is not available, they've got another one,
right,
who's available and also vetted, so
and insured, licensed, and insured appropriately.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we mentioned before, one of the criteria for choosing what we feel are the best property management software platform was whether or not it was affordable. The bottom line is the bottom line, and as property managers and owners, we have to be careful about our expenses. So the nice thing about TurboTenant is that you can start out using most of TurboTenant's features completely for free. The free plan includes unlimited property listings, applications, from there, the screenings, rent collection, the work order communication with your tenants, and you can loop in your vendors and more. Where there does start to be expense is if you decide you want to use one of their state-specific leases and you're not already a paying member, then each of those leases, so each of the leases for each tenant, each new tenant you did a lease for would be $59. And the tenants pay a little bit higher screening fee when they're applying. It's $55 instead of $45. And the rent payments are $2 per transaction. So again, we're back to that, like, do I offset that with the tenant or not? Very quickly, I decided that I was going to be saving money very quickly by signing up for the premium plan. And to unlock all your free lease templates, waive those bank transfer fees, lower the screening fees. Upgrading to premium costs $12.42 a month. Billed annually is $149, so you do pay that all at once. And we feel like it's a great option for tenants who are planning to use the platform heavily and potentially scale up units. There's a lot of value there
for landlords who are in the.
What did I say?
Yeah.
Tenants.
Tenants.
Landlords. So.
Yeah. It's also, like we talked about before, with the tenant screening, is faster and more accurate tenant screening. I can't remember if you mentioned that they partnered with a company called Rent Butter, but that is a new thing that will allow them, they provide faster, more reliable tenant screening reports. Whether it's criminal background reports, credit reports, eviction history, income verification, whatever they're allowed to show you in your location gets delivered instantly. So as soon as that applicant fills it out, pays their fee, that gets delivered basically right away to you. You can see and then download your report at that point. Traditional screening providers take an average of 1 to 4 days. So, a lot of the other platforms that we talk about also do that pretty instantly. But when you think about using a, kind of a local screening provider where they're kind of doing it manually and that takes 4 days, if you think about the amount of time nowadays, applicants are just not willing to wait that long. If you don't give them an answer that says, and say that, like, hey, yeah, you've got it within, less than a day often, it seems like, they've probably moved on to another place and have submitted an application.
Yeah.
So if you're in a market where, there's a lot of availability and a lot of vacancy, waiting 4 days to get a screening report and then, checking references and, and all that, you may have lost them. So anyway, TurboTenant, they say they have a tenant screening accuracy of 99%. With Rent Butter, I think that's a good system. They do it well.
Yeah.
I don't think you can go wrong there.
Yeah. And as we mentioned, they give you a really wide reach with your listings, so that you create an ad, you upload your photos, create the description, set all the terms. You do it once, and that's automatically syndicated to 25 different sites from there without having to replicate your effort. As we mentioned, we still separately do it on Zillow because we don't feel like that's worth it. And included among the sites that TurboTenant syndicates to are Realtor.com, Rent.com, Redfin, Homes.com, and even Craigslist, which is interesting. And I've had some inquiry through Craigslist. So it gives you a lot of exposure for a lot of bang for your buck. You just have to do it once, and you really get out there. According to TurboTenant, the average users are getting 28 leads per listing, and landlords fill units with an average of 20 days. That's high. In my experience, it's highly variable. I sometimes get a deluge of interest, and sometimes I get a trickle, and it's due to a lot of different variables, but they do get you out there very well.
Yeah. I'm not sure I'd want 28 leads, honestly.
It's better than 0.
Yeah, that's true. Good point. TurboTenant also makes it easy to manage those leads. You can keep them organized in all one place. They've got automated pre-screening, and you can, like we talked about before, you can schedule your showings through there. So, it keeps all the leads in one place. You can see their name, contact information, all that stuff, whether you've contacted them or not. You can also set pre-screener questions that automatically get sent when they inquire about the property. by default. I think it probably asks a handful of questions by default, but you can customize that. So if you want to ask move-in date, monthly income, pets, no pets, smoking, etc. And so, again, we've talked about pre-screening before, so we won't get into it here about why you should do it, but it just saves time, rules out leads that aren't going to qualify, all that, saves everybody time. And then again, TurboTenant lets applicants schedule their showings on a custom calendar. So
you set up your availability and then people can choose from it. And it keeps people from double booking. I hated when I would have an email out to 2 different people saying, okay, well, I'm going to be there at between 10 and noon. And when do you want to come? And, of course, everybody wants to come at 11:20. Yes. You have different slots and they can claim them. So, exactly. All right, Chris. So I think some of this, the rest of these items here, we've covered some of. We talked about, the strength of the lease templates and the condition reports. One thing I used recently and I really like is that TurboTenant allows you to bring co-signers into the ecosystem of the tenancy very easily, and they're effectively just like another tenant. You can screen them just like another tenant. You can have them sign on to the lease with a co-signer form, which they provide, which outlines that they have obligations, but not the privileges of being able to live there. The obligation to meet all of the responsibilities, and makes it clear what the co-signer's responsibility is. So I really appreciated that. It's easy to bring those people in, verify who they are, do the screening reports, and then get them signed on to the lease. So we also chatted about Lula, I think, the maintenance coordination and management system. One thing we haven't noted is that TurboTenant has, through the years, developed a partnership with a network of other service providers that mesh nicely. So insurance is one. Your tenants can get their renter's insurance right there. Require renter's insurance, everybody. And they don't have to go and find it somewhere else. It's affordable, and they can sign up with it right on the TurboTenant platform. And then there's also the landlord insurance, legal services, tax filing, and more. So there's a lot that you can integrate there. Chris, what you want to talk about? Just briefly about, I don't know. Maybe we ought to wrap it up. Seems like we've covered it, right?
All. Yeah. TurboTenant does have a mobile app.
Yep.
I will say that it's pretty good. You can get on your phone, you can log in there. A lot of times, certain functionality within the app, and then just takes you out to their website.
Yeah.
That's not uncommon, but they do have an app, and it's decent. So you can see it, all the stuff you can. I just did this recently. I was out of town and I checked to make sure that the rent got deposited. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, and I almost think that it's better on the tenant side. It's more useful on the tenant side, because if they get a reminder that rent is due, which they will, then they...
Yeah, if it's just a matter of them turning on clicking the app and clicking pay, then,
right.
Super easy and fantastic.
Signing documents and the more, filling out applications and stuff like that. With any of these, I don't know of anybody who has an app that really does the more in-depth functions very well. So I think they're, like you say, it's good for some things, but that's true. That's pretty much true industry-wide.
Yeah, exactly. But, at least they've got one, and it seems to work pretty well. So,
yep.
Yeah. So, I guess the bottom line, so we just wrap it up here. Yep. Again, we recommend TurboTenant. As you can tell, based on everything we've said here, it really does simplify every aspect of being a landlord. We've covered all the different aspects and different things of your property management, and TurboTenant handles it. So, again, we've tested a bunch of these. We are independent landlords ourselves. And, after several years of experimenting and doing different things, from starting with not using property management software at all, from using, spreadsheets and things like that, we've both come to TurboTenant as the platform that we trust and that we use ourselves. So, I think that's probably our biggest kind of recommendation that we can give. But
that's true.
It's reliable, affordable, and it really is built with small landlords in mind. Landlords like us, and hopefully like you guys as well. So, yeah, that's how we'll wrap it up. And thanks for sticking with us. This was a long one, but we think we've kind of covered a lot of different things about TurboTenant, and we hope that you will check them out as well. We'll put links here in the description so you can check it out yourself.
If you have questions, let us know. Please remember to like and subscribe and share, no matter where you're listening or to us or watching us. We'd love to have you on our subscriber list. And if you know of anybody else who might be able to use some of our information, and we'd love it if you'd share it as well. So thanks for being with us.
Thanks, everyone.